What? The let's go mechanic? Huh, more like let's go sit down somewhere and pray to Shinx. Come on now, y'all. Y'all know how this works. Alright, what's going on, y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. So I've been racking my brain for the last couple of days thinking about what we have not talked about yet regarding Scarlet and Violet, and one of those things I've come to understand is the fact that we haven't really touched up upon this new let's go mechanic literally at all. Just to catch up anybody that's completely unaware for whatever reason, in the most recent gameplay-oriented trailer, they introduced a good couple of new mechanics to us, one of those being the Let's Go mechanic. With this mechanic, you can have your Pokemon run up to another Pokemon in the wild and have it battle it on its own with no commands. So essentially, you could be like, hey, Quaxly, go fight that little Litleo in the corner over there. I'm gonna go pick up these berries over here. And you can completely pay no mind to your Quaxly, who probably already beat the living crap out of that thing. So yeah, this could actually end up being a much more crucial mechanic than I originally thought it was gonna be. However, as most of you already know by now, with any mechanic that comes along with these Pokemon games, I've got my likes and I've got my gripes. It does have some nice promising features that I'm really looking forward to utilizing. However, there is one thing in particular that kind of irks me about the mechanic, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. So, I guess without further ado, why don't we start talking about some of my positives and my negatives regarding the Let's Go mechanic for Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. So the first and most obvious positive that anybody could gather just by taking a glance at the trailer is that this mechanic is super fast and super convenient when it comes to the grinding department. It's no secret that we're probably going to be abusing raid battles so that we can level up our Pokemon. However, this is also a phenomenal way to do that without even having to go through all of that work of gathering all your friends or playing with some randoms just to get the experience that you need. My current impression right now is that you could absolutely send that random Pokemon off to battle another wild Pokemon and get the exact amount of experience that you would have gotten even if you went through with the entirety of the battle. And even on top of that, every Pokemon in the party still gains experience even when fighting that one Pokemon. Like, come on now. I know that we've had a lot of problems with the experience in the last couple of years, but even you guys have to admit, that is extremely convenient. That actually just helped me think about another video that we have to have a very serious discussion about sometime in the near future, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But anyway, it's super convenient and it's super quick. Nobody can really get that mad at it. I imagine that the first thing you're gonna want to do in early game is get a nice little team gathered up and get as much experience as possible to prepare yourself for whatever storyline you're gonna end up doing, because we don't know how strong whoever we're facing is gonna be. Probably not that strong, but we still want to overpower them as much as possible. Let's be real. Personally, myself, I want to get to some of those early onset evolutions as fast as I possibly can to see what kind of team I'm going to end up working with. But hey, the long and short of it is, if you want a quick grind, this is quick and mindless. We'd love to see it. The next big positive about this mechanic is that it's definitely the best way to go about crafting. Now this is definitely another thing that we need to talk about soon, but long story short, they did introduce a crafting mechanic for TMs in this game. Like any crafting mechanic, you need to go out, explore the world, and obtain specific items needed to craft that TM. I'm sure some items can be found on the ground, but other things are required that come from specific Pokemon like Litleo Tufts and gears from Clinks and stuff like that. So obviously, these Pokemon probably need to be captured or defeated to obtain these materials. Well, guess what, little bro? If there's 3 Litleo out on the field, just send 3 Pokemon out and get those Tufts and then go back and make whatever you need to make. When you really think about it, I'm pretty sure that these two mechanics were made in tandem to work with each other so that people could comfortably go out and hunt without thinking that they would have to go into each individual battle to get the materials that they need for the TMs and stuff like that, because if they didn't give us this mechanic, but gave us the TM's crafting mechanic, it would have actually been a problem. But hey, thankfully we live in a reality where we have both at the same time. So, we take what we can get. Moving along from that, there is another positive that I actually considered, and that is the possibility that we're most likely going to get a new shiny hunting method out of this. Now obviously I don't have an exact clear picture to give you as to how this would work. However though, it is very clear to me that we're going to be getting overworld shinies again based on how we enter battles. I'm pretty sure I pointed this out during my reaction to the trailer, but as soon as you enter battle with a Pokemon, it zooms in on the Pokemon and then back out and you are already in battle. It's quick, it's smooth, it's flawless. So then I got to thinking eventually, wait a minute, how are shinies gonna work? I mean, frankly, it would be pretty damn weird if you were to go into battle with a Pokemon and then as soon as you zoom in on the Pokemon, that's when the shiny sprite would show up. That would be super weird. I really don't think that they're going to do something like that, which means that the only alternative is to have basic overworld shinies again, which in this case could be an amazing thing. There's most likely going to be hordes of Pokemon that show up in specific areas, and as long as you defeat enough of them in battle back to back to back, eventually a shiny version of that Pokemon is going to show up. And thankfully, we don't have to worry about battling them individually. You could send out all 5 or 6 of your Pokemon to go battle a bunch of them at once, and then eventually that shiny's gonna pop up. Now, of course, there is no guarantee that this is actually how it's going to work. This is just more of an ideal situation, but a possibility based on what we've been given so far. However, if they do make it work that way, this would be the easiest game to shiny hunt in right after Pokemon Legends, which was already the easiest. So I'm just saying, I'm real hopeful for the shiny hunting this time around. Hopefully it turns out something like that, and then we could have some real good times shiny hunting on streams and stuff like that. So anyhow, one of the last things that I really wanted to point out on the positive side of things is that this mechanic would really help regular battles feel a lot less repetitive and probably help us look forward to them more. In the trailers, they showed us that when we go out to battle Team Star at their bases, they're gonna have all of them sending out their Pokemon at one time during these little trips to their bases. I don't know if that's exactly how it's gonna happen every single time, but I think that's a safe bet given the fact that they did it for the first one. However though, that's definitely a much better start than how it used to be, because think about it. You'd run up on an enemy base and there would be like 8 to 9 different grunts that you have to fight individually before you get to the quote-unquote boss of the area. After the 3rd or 4th battle, you're like, okay, I get it. Every single one of you has a Zubat or a Krogunk or something like, I just want to get to the big boss, please. Were you able to tell that this was a direct shot at Diamond and Pearl, specifically the Valley Windworks and Floral? Anyway, by the time you get to the big boss, you're annoyed and worn out. You're like, okay, now I have to fight you, the strongest of these 9, after wasting a bunch of potions and ethers. Like, come on. But in this very instance, that's not exactly the case anymore. Instead, we fight everybody in the area like it's a freaking battle royale. We need to talk about a Pokemon battle royale very soon. But you get the gist of it by now. Instead of fighting everybody individually, we fight everybody at once, and then me and my Pokemon work together and I command them while we fight the big bad. Generally speaking, I think that makes for a little bit better of an experience when it comes to story stuff. So now, instead of sitting there thinking, oh, another battle, great, it's gonna be like, alright, come on, let's finish this up, I want a battle. But hey, maybe that's just me. So anyhow, now I've gushed about all the positives regarding this mechanic, why don't we go ahead and flip that coin and talk about the things that were a little iffy for me regarding this one. Now in reality, there's only 2 things here, and both of these could just be summed up as me overthinking things a little bit, but you tell me what you think. My first thing is that by the time we get to mid-game and most likely post-game, this mechanic is probably going to be a lot more repetitive and most likely completely ignored. Like I said earlier, by the time we get to the higher levels, we're most likely going to be utilizing raid battles more to get the stuff that we want, including gaining levels for our Pokemon. By the time we get to post-game, the only thing this mechanic is going to be good for is gathering materials. Also though, this is under the assumption that the shiny hunting mechanic that I thought about earlier falls through, and that doesn't actually work out that way. But other than that, during early game, that's when it's going to be the most useful to us, but afterwards, it's not going to be that great. Now hey, I could be wrong on that one, but that's just me. And then there's the last thing here, which is a completely personal opinion. This does almost feel like a lesser version of the overworld capture mechanic that we had in Pokemon Legends. Now, I already know that that is well beyond impossible because these two games were in development at the same time. So it's very likely that these mechanics were thought up around the same time, just for different purposes. If I had to be stuck with one or the other though, I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't rather just have the overworld capture mechanic. Another thing that I said earlier is that this is a very mindless mechanic in which you just let your Pokemon go do its thing and you don't even have to think about it anymore. On the other side of things though, with the overworld capture mechanic, you could throw out your Pokemon, have them interact with the world, have them interact with the Pokemon immediately if you want to have them battle. It was just more investing. Simply put, there's not a lot of mechanics in the Pokemon realm that's probably going to top that for me, and that's totally fine, I get it. However, going forward, if I had to pick between one or the other to make it to the next game, I would hope that they would do something more along the lines of what they did with Pokemon Legends as opposed to this here. Being able to actually interact with the world and throw the Pokeball out and throw the Pokemon out and things like that actually felt like it was more part of the game, something that you had to do to progress, as opposed to the let's go mechanic where it's just, oh, okay, yeah, this is a thing you can do instead. Like, come on, it's night and day. Now, like I always say, the game is not out yet, and this could just be coming from my own biased opinion here because I did feel a crazy attachment to Pokemon Legends that I haven't felt for a Pokemon game in a very long time. It's very possible that once I have this mechanic in my hands for myself to play with, I could change my mind. However though, for the time being, I have a hard time believing that that's going to be something that changes for me given the facts that we have currently. And also given the fact that we can't down the Pokemon and then try to capture it. Why can the anime do that? Why can't we do that? I want to capture a fainted Pokemon. I don't care. God! Anyway, jokes aside, that about wraps it up for this one here. Overall though, I do think that this is a very useful mechanic that helps the game out a lot, especially in the speed department. I titled this video the way I did because I do believe that it's truly crucial to have something like this that helps speed up the game, especially with people that play games this generation. People of my generation or younger are always looking to get into things much faster than they used to. They don't have that same patience like back in the day, especially when it comes to RPGs. Nobody's really looking to grind like that anymore, which is why Pokemon had to change it up the way they did so long ago. But as the times change, so do the games, and this is one of those important changes that really helps move the game forward a little bit. Now, this isn't a personal thing for me. I love RPGs. It doesn't really matter how slow they are to me. As long as I can put some time in and it actually goes somewhere, then I'm totally fine. It doesn't really matter how slow it is. But this is very helpful for people that are getting into Pokemon, that aren't really used to RPGs, that want a quick way to level up, get what they need, and just go. Which is, I guess, why it's titled the Let's Go mechanic, because in your head, you're constantly yelling, come on, let's go. I don't know if that's intentional, but you know what? It works, and I can't be mad at them for it. So anyhow, that just about does it from me. I want to hear what you guys think regarding the Let's Go mechanic. Do you think that it's useful? Do you think that it's too much? Do you prefer Legends like I do? Do you not? Do you think that this is a much better alternative? Tell me everything you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always gonna be down there with you guys. But with that, I'm gonna get the hell up out of here. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this. And with that, I'm outro. Thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!